All right, so I usually go over the construct understanding with you, but this one is a little bit wild. You could go through it on your own with your graphing calculator and play with it, but I'm not drawing it up here. So what I'm going to do is the highlights. So on page 180, you got a little gray box. The little gray box is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It's got everything you need to know. So it shows you that the original function, y equals f of x, is a quadratic function. We don't care exactly what the function is, what the equation is. What we want to know is that that's the original function, and this point, xy, is a point on there. So we're going to look at the relationship between that and when you reflect it. So if I reflect this graph in the y-axis, then I'm going to have a pretty little graph the same way with an xy point here. And the xy point is going to be x becomes negative. So I'm going to have negative x, because it's over here now, and y. It's kind of a crazy negative. So the way that the formula looks when I have a reflection in the y-axis is going to be that I have y equals, instead of f of x now, it's f of negative x, because the x is a negative value. So when you have a formula that's talking about flipping things, what you need to do is make the x value negative, right inside the function. Kind of like when the last one with translations, we were making, we were talking about the numbers that were associated with the x inside the function. So inside the function here, x changes. Now, if we're talking about a reflection over the x-axis, that means that I'm going to have the mirror image down here, which means x is going to stay the same, but y is going to be switched. Because now y is below the line, it's going to be a negative. And the way that that looks for my formula is y equals negative. The negative is on the outside of the formula, or the function. The same way as when we had an up or down shift, the number was on the outside there as well. Now I've got a negative value on the outside of the function that's flipping the whole thing, because this is still the same x value, but now I've flipped it to get my new y value. So what you really need to know in construct understanding is this. If you have an original function and you flip it over the y-axis, you're going to get f of negative x because x is affected. If you flip it over the x-axis, you're going to get a negative y value because y is affected, and therefore the negative is on the outside of the function.